person who used to stammer, then they give their attention and they have just mind the words and they just stop and listen to me. Thank you.
Okay, so we are already out of time, so now we start our next session, and I am going to hand over the mic to Arjuna. Who said?
Just a second, give me a minute.
Yeah, come. Okay, done. Yeah, हम जा रहे हैं इसको.
Hello.
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 Hey, hi, Rashma. So we are just waiting for Pooja to join, and you can see all of us here in the background.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. So as soon as Pooja will join, you take care of the introduction, okay?
Sure.
Pooja has to join from USA, so till then we can take 1 or 2 experience. Okay, so those who did first time standard talk, you did? Yeah, just few words soon.
Hi guys, my name is Shrikant from Hyderabad, SHG. This was actually my first stranger talk, and I first went and approached a guy. So I went and said that you have 2 minutes to talk. He said no, but he asked me, so what you want to talk about? I said I want to talk about the Indian stammering. How cameras we face. So he himself said that he was actually he overcome stammering from his 9th class. So he himself was a stammerer and he practiced, and he also suggested me a book called as Relentless. So that was actually a good thing, and then I extended to this. So we will also meet people who actually overcome stammering. So this is stranger talk, and the first guy whom I met has successfully overcome stammering. Was a good experience. Yeah.
Any other one who did stranger talk first time?
Myself, Dilip Kumar. I met 3 foreign people. One person, her name is Jenny. She's a receptionist in a mall of Lido Mall. When I talked with the girl, she told that speak slowly and please maybe slowly speak. And also, one more person, his name is Jasmine. He's from California. Jasmine. He's from California. So, he wants to speak with me for 10 minutes. I told that, sir, can you? I want to speak with that guy. I want to speak around 15 minutes. He told that in USA also we used to have some people who can't speak. In that America also they have a committee that who will stutter. They have a committee that they told that to speak slowly. The only technique they will use that to, uh, to speak slowly only. Thank you.
Ashma, so we are done. You can take control from here, okay?
Hello, everyone. So this session will be taken by our guest speaker Pooja Vijay. Just to tell you a brief about who she is, Pooja Vijay is a noted stand-up comedian with a slight speech impediment who uses the platform to spread awareness about gender equality and speech impediments. Her work involves creating spaces and networks which promote women in co- co- comedy and allow comedians to support each other. She is vocal about women empowerment and gender equity. She has been featured in various international and national media platforms such as NDTV Prime, Femina, and leading newspapers for her work in comedy and the issues that she promotes. She has performed in multiple cities across India, including Hyderabad, Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, and Kochi. She is also an energy and environmental policy analyst who has worked closely with government and non-government sectors to promote sustainability and is currently pursuing her PhD in public policy from Princeton University. Let's welcome Pooja Vijay with a large round of applause.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Is it all okay? The thing okay? Okay. Okay, hi. So it's very early morning for me. I'm speaking to you from Princeton, and it's 7 in the morning over here. Um, so I guess in my talk, which I told Ashima about already, is going to be just about kind of accepting your stutter and about embracing yourself for it. So I'll just start speaking about a bit about how when I was growing up, how I dealt with my stutter and how my perceptions of it have changed now. Um, so uh, as I was growing up with my stutter when I was younger, I think this similar to a lot of people, um, there was kind of shame associated with my stutter, and I wasn't really sure um what I needed to do about it, or if it's all right, or if I need to get it fixed. Um, so at that time, my and around 22 to 25 years back, I think people in India didn't, and it might still be the same, but we had very little awareness of what a stammer is, how why our children have it. I mean, if you still see the way that stuttering and stuff is portrayed on cinema and TV, it's kind of people laugh at it, or it's just seen as something that stupid people do, and things like that. So I think there was a lack of awareness about stuttering. So as I was growing up, I think my parents did not even realize till quite some time that I have a stutter. I think it took them some time. Um, and then when they finally did realize, which was about when I was around 11 or 12, which is quite an old age, is when they actually sent me for speech therapy. They sent me around 11 or 12. And by that time, I did in class, I used to get teased a lot. My classmates would make fun of me, or in school, kind of the teachers told my parents, like she has a stutter. So at that point, I did go for speech therapy for about 2 to 3 weeks, or two, yeah, around a month. And then my fluency got a bit better, but then they kept saying, that you have to keep on doing those exercises, and you have to constantly kind of work towards in your day-to-day life. I'm sure that you guys also told, take a deep breath and then speak, and like those kind of things to get rid of your stammer. So for a few months I did do that. I did kind of do all those speech therapies, and I followed those practices. Um, but somewhere along the line, I was, it became more important for me to stop being ashamed of it, to stop hiding it as I don't know, I stopped seeing it as a flaw, and rather something, which is okay. Like, why should I every day be so conscious of myself or every situation? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in some places. If you have a job interview, or if you have an important speech that you need to give, or if you have an important occasion, maybe you want to practice those methods. But in day-to-day life, I just kind of realize that I'm putting so much effort, so much time of mine is going in just taking a deep breath and then speaking, and then being conscious about my stutter, and then just being all the time ashamed of myself, and all the time saying, okay, I need to fix this, and just something that's going wrong, that you realize that you're not putting up you you can rather delegate that time into doing other things. So at some point, I just made up my mind that you know what, I'm just going to accept the fact that I have my stutter, and I'm going to go on with life, and I can't keep letting it stop me from actually doing the things I want to. So I always, since I was in college, I took part in debate competitions, and yeah, like people would say kind of mean things or make fun of me, but I don't know. At some point, I just started ignoring it. Like, I just was like, you know what? Like, I don't care anymore. Like, this is who I am. So I just moved on. And as Hashima was saying, I then started doing stand up. I started doing stand up in 2015. And at that point, I think there's one more. Now have you guys all watched Comic Sun?
Yes.
The show Comic Sun? Yeah, have you guys seen Ruben?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think he um he also has a stutter. But at that point, I didn't know. So at that point, when I started in 2015, I didn't know anyone. And then, what I said, like, I just started doing stand up because of a friend of mine. Started doing was doing stand up, and so I said, do you know what? Let me also try it. So I did it quite casually, and then what happened is that I really enjoyed it. And what I started doing is I started acknowledging the fact that I had a stutter. I started doing my comedy set saying, hey guys, like, like, I have a stutter, and making some jokes about it, but only for 2 to 3 minutes, because I didn't want the whole comedy set to just focus on that. What happens a lot of times is that people just keep on talking about their stutter, and then the whole, I don't know, there's also a very famous American comedian. I don't know if you guys know who's a stutterer. Have you guys seen? He was on America's Got Talent. Have any of you guys seen it?
Yes.
Yeah. So the thing with him, which I found, is that all his jokes are only about his stutter. He only keeps speaking about it, and for like half an hour he keeps making jokes. But one thing is that I realize is that I don't want to only. I mean, and you all, I'm sure you all do so many things. We all have jobs, we all have family, we all have partners, spouses, etc. So I was just like, why should I only keep speaking about my stutter? Like I'm an ordinary person, just like anybody else. So in my comedy, what I do is for the first 2 3 minutes I speak about it, and I say, yeah, I do have a stutter, but that's just to kind of break the ice, because I'm sure, as you all have experienced, um if you don't acknowledge it, then people think you're nervous, or like something is upsetting you, or like there's some reason why you're speaking like that. Most people don't expect people who have stuttered to kind of come on stage and openly speak. So a lot of people have a perception that if you have a stutter, you should first and foremost go somewhere and get it fixed, and then you should be speaking in a public space. You know. So what used to happen is that a lot of people, if I wouldn't acknowledge that, they would get confused or not understand what was happening. So which is why as soon as I um for those oh no, is there some sound that keeps coming up? Do you think you could stop that sound?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have stopped it. Thanks.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's just that. Yeah. So as I was saying, how many of you have been public speaking? And when you do it in front of a non-stuttering crowd, you generally see that they get very confused, or they're not sure what's happening. Like, so how do you guys acknowledge that? Do you say I have a stutter, or is it more of a, like you just go on speaking? Or can you have the mic? Sorry, I can't.
Yeah. Uh, Hi. So I am Toastmasters, and I go to a club, and the first day when I went to the club, so I have acknowledged that I have a stammer, and that I told in front of all the members, and I think they have accepted that this man is stammering, and I have delivered some speeches also, and I think for me, stammering in front of non-stammers is absolutely fine. Although we cannot expect the same from 100%, but I think majority of them understand that he is Tamil and it is fine.
Do you speak in front of the same people every time, or is it a different audience?
Oh, I go to 3 4 clubs in a month, but I have a club which has their meeting on Saturdays. So I go to a club on Saturdays, and if I get the time, then in the weekdays or on holiday, I go to some new club.
No, oh yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I think but like the point I was trying to say is that, when you do stand up, you go to a different city, or you could be in a different venue every day, like I would travel to Bombay and Delhi and Kerala, or from just, one venue to another, and most of these people have no idea that I have a stutter, and because I would not like to, as I said, like I identify as a stutterer, but I also identify as a human being who has other things that I need to do. So a lot of times when you go, they don't know, they don't know what to expect. So when you go to a completely new crowd and a completely new audience, and these people have never been exposed to, stuttering, except in a way where, people tease us or they make fun of us on TV. Um, and they just don't know what to expect. A lot of people after the show have actually come and asked me, like, are you faking your stutter? Like, is it really true that you have a stutter? It can't be. They're just amazed that someone with a stutter would have the guts to come up on stage and speak. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why non-stutterers feel that it's not our place to be on stage and stutter. So a lot of my stand-up goes around explaining that we have all the right to be on stage, and we have all the right to have a space or ourselves where we need to speak. Why is it that we need to, you can only speak on stage if you speak 100% fluent. So I just feel like that sense of spreading knowledge about that is so important. It's so important for people to understand that it's completely acceptable, even if you have a stutter or you don't, or whichever lisp or anything, that we have all the right to also be on stage and speak. And a lot of people don't, they themselves, a lot of people will message me on Facebook saying, "Oh, you're such an inspiration, like you are on stage, but I don't have the courage to go on stage." But I'm like, why? Because is it other people telling you that what you're doing is not okay, like you're not supposed to be there? Or is it ashamed? Do you guys feel ashamed by yourself? So I just feel as if, by me doing stand up, and by me, or not even me, other stutterers as well, but just going up on stage and claiming your space, or saying, like, I belong here, like, who are you to tell me? A lot of times after the show as well, people will be like, "Oh, you're such a good comedian. If you just go and stop stuttering so much, then you'd be even better." you know and or some people have said, "Are you making fun of stutterers in your act? Do you really have a stutter, or are you just going up on stage and mimicking them?" And that's mainly because most people cannot believe it. Have you guys faced this same experience where people don't believe it, or they think, how come someone with a stutter is speaking on stage?
So, this is hello, Teja. Yes, in my school days, faced the experience that in my school days, the teacher tell that are you acting, or the really have the stuttering problem. At the time, I feel very so sad that my friends are there, so that laughing.
I'm sorry, you felt sad that?
Yes. That in my school days.
No, I'm sorry. What did you say after that? You felt sad because?
Not because the teacher that the teacher can understand my words as
So how many of you have not gone up on stage and spoken, or have stopped yourself because of your stutter? Or have you all not felt ashamed? How many of you at some point have felt ashamed of having a stutter?
Hello, Pooja.
Hi.
Hello, Pooja. My name is
No,
Mohit.
I think you need to speak closer to the mic. I can't hear you.
Hello, Pooja. My name is Mohit. I used to be ashamed of my stutter in my school days, and mostly because of that, I did not participate in any of the cultural events where you had to be on the stage and speak out loud, be it singing or be it anything with stage. So it kind of created a sort of phobia in me of stage. But lately, since I joined PISA, that mindset has changed. But fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not able to participate in those events like debates and all, which you come across in schools and all. But I do give presentations and talks as often as I can, and I don't feel ashamed anymore after I have accepted myself.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe we can have a round of applause. Oh, that's really good. Because as I was saying, people from all over, they always message me and say, "Where do you have the courage to go up in front of so many people and speak?" And yeah, I know, like stand-up comedy is scary, even if you don't have a stutter or you have a stutter. It's just a scary thing. You have to go on stage in front of many people, strangers you don't know, and you have to speak. So that is scary. Any sort of public speaking. They actually did a survey and they found that most people are more scared of public speaking, whether you have a stutter or not. But on top of that, when you do have a stammer and you go up on stage, people are like, "Where do you have the courage to do that? You're so brave." But I don't see myself as brave or being as inspirational, because to me, I do it because I think I belong there just like everybody else does. I don't think I'm some extra brave person, extra amazing. Um, I feel we all have the right to claim our spaces. We all have the right to be on stage. We all have the right to speak, and nobody can say otherwise. And I think this sort of mentality, of course, I don't, is because when I was growing up, my family, they never made me feel like there was something wrong with me. Even when I had a stutter, I would be a bit embarrassed. I would tell my mother, like, I don't want to go and speak to the cashier, or I don't want to speak to the waiter because I'm feeling shy. And she would always encourage me and say, no, 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 you have to go and speak. You can't not speak, or there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you have to do that. And when I was growing up in school, also, I had lots of friends who would always say, like, there's nothing wrong with you. You have to participate in these things. So I think growing up in an environment where you don't feel people don't make you feel like there's something wrong with you, that experience is one where I also didn't think there's something wrong with me. um and yes, I'm not saying, like, a lot of people I meet, they tell me they do things to get rid of their stutter, and I completely understand that. I mean, if you have a job where you need to have fluency, or if you have to be in a situation where you need fluency, I understand. you know like, there are times when because I am an academic as well. I'm in Princeton right now doing a PhD, and I can understand if I need to teach classes or if I need to give presentations. Obviously, fluency would help me. uh, but I don't know. So I understand if some people want to take that j- journey. Like, I don't say don't do that, but I think it is a much simpler or a more fulfilling journey if you kind of. I mean, there's no one in my class here as well. We have 70 of us who stutters. There's nobody I've met at Princeton who has a stutter other than me. There's no stuttering association. There's no one I've met with a speech impediment here. And of course, sometimes I can feel a bit like, oh, I'm standing out, but on the other times, I'm also like, wow, like, like I've managed to be here, although I have a stutter, like, I've managed to pave a path. I've managed to not give up. Like, imagine if I had said, oh, I won't apply or I won't go here because I have a stutter, like just holding yourself back. And a lot of people who send me Facebook messages or speak to me after the show, they always say, like, I didn't do this because I was scared, or I stopped myself from doing that because I was scared. And it's this whole mentality of embracing your stutter is not there. Even when I spoke to some people back home who stutter, they all are like, oh, can you help me fix it? Like, I can show you those messages. It's all like, hi, I have a stutter. You're so brave. Can you help me fix it? And I was like, why would I help you fix it when I go on stage and I openly stutter? I mean, like if me myself, I don't, I don't feel ashamed, and why would I go and fix it? So that kind of mentality. And I feel when you can find humor in your own self, if you don't take yourself too seriously, you don't get too upset all the time. Um, I think that makes sense. So I think I'm kind of done with what I have to say. You guys can just pose some questions if you want, or 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 else I can speak more about some experiences, or if you guys want to know anything.
Yeah, hi, Pooja. My name is Abhinav, and I would like to ask you two questions. First, how was your experience when you went to speak, or you went to do stand up for the first time? And second, which one is your most memorable experience when you went to do stand up?
Um, when I did stand up for the first time, uh, I was very, very nervous, and I also thought I would only do it one time and I wouldn't do it again. Um, and I was very scared, but also I don't know. I just thought I don't know if you guys have ever had this. It's just like, oh, I want to do this thing, at least one time in my life. I want to experience this, just as something. I didn't take it very seriously, like, oh, I want to do stand-up comedy as a career or anything like that. I just thought, oh, this will be a fun thing which I can do. I was very, very nervous, and like when you guys go home, if you YouTube my clip, my name is Pooja Vijay, and then if you write comedian, you'll see that I stutter on stage much more. I don't know why that happens. I guess maybe because I'm more nervous, but I stutter on stage much more than what I'm speaking with you right now. And so I think the first time I did stand up, I felt again that feeling of shame, that oh my god, in real life when I'm just having a conversation, I don't stutter that much. So how come when I go on stage, I'm stuttering so much? And I think that also made me feel kind of bad. Like, why am I like right now? I might stutter in a few words, but when I'm on stage, I kind of stutter on almost all the words, or at least once or twice in a sentence, at least. Um, so again, and then a lot of people again after will be like, oh, when I spoke to you, you didn't stutter. How come when you're on stage, you stutter so much? Again, they'll be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. So then I would always have to explain how stuttering works. That we don't stutter on each and every word. We don't stutter all the time. There are some situations where we stutter more. Some days I'll just wake up and not be in a good mood, and then I'll just stutter much more, or I'll be feeling strained. So I'll stutter more. And then I try to explain, so I always use these opportunities as a way to explain stuttering. So many times, like journalists, like I've been featured in a lot of newspapers and articles. They'll always say, oh, is it okay if we have a phone interview with you? And I'll say, yeah, fine. And then they'll call me up and they'll say, oh, you didn't even stutter one time in that phone interview. And I'll be like, that's not how it works. It's not like, we can just turn it on and off, that we can just stutter sometimes. I mean, I So I always try to kind of spread awareness. But yeah, like the first time I did stand up, I did get many laughs, you know. It was great in that way, but then again I felt very embarrassed because I was, as I said, I was stuttering far more on stage um than I am. And if you guys, or I don't know, maybe you can play it right now as well, Abhinav, if I could send you my clip, and you will see that I stutter I stutter far more on stage than I do in real life. So there was a sense of shame, and again I had to go through that whole process of acceptance and, oh, it's okay, you know, and that's who I am and that's my personality. Many comedians have actually felt, I mean, some people, you know, like I make a joke, they're so embarrassed because they're unsure whether they can laugh at somebody who stutters or not, you know, because they say, oh, I feel so bad, I don't know if I can laugh. So I always make a joke saying, please laugh or else I won't have a job, you know. Like, if you don't laugh at my joke, nobody will pay me money to make jokes anymore. But a lot of people are like, are you sure? Like, are we allowed to laugh? Is it okay? Is it a bit awkward? Is it, you know, like, is it okay? Like, you're a person of you're a person who stutters, and we need to be sensitive and we need to be nice to you. And I'm like, no, like, just treat me like you would treat anybody else. I mean, don't say anything mean. Like, you don't want to say mean to anybody else either. But like, accept it. You know, I'm not a special, like, I'm not special or I'm not different. So if you just accept me as I am, you know. Do you have a question? I saw somebody raise. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, wait, and you wanted a second. I think I answered your first one. What was your second one?
Yeah, so actually I asked that which was your most memorable experience while doing stand-up comedy?
I've had many memorable experiences. Honestly, I don't have a single memorable one. I mean, there on, you know, I don't know if you guys know this or how much you follow stand up, but even if you're the best comedian in the world, sometimes you can go on stage and nobody will laugh and nobody will enjoy your jokes, you know. So it's some days where it's like stuttering. Some days are good and some days are bad. And you know, in my experience, anytime I get a like, I used to do shows at Canvas Laugh Club, which is in Delhi and Bombay, and also in have you guys there's a comedy club in Koramangala called That Comedy Club. So it's always nice, you know, those are very memorable when I do shows in like a big club with like a very large audience. Um, those are always memorable shows. Yeah, so somebody had something they want to ask. I saw two hands raised at the back. There's one at the back and one in the green kurta.
Should I go for question? Should I ask the question? Hello.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What?
My question is, we are seeing that you are loving your stammering. So when did you realize that you should love your stammering, and why? Means, is there any remarkable incident with you so that you have started your loving your stammering? Thank you.
To be honest, I, I would not use the word love my stammering. You know, I still, as I said, I still have days where I'm like, why do I, you know, like, why I still have bad days. I'm just like, why am I stammering so much? You know, I'll have a really i- important meeting and then I would stammer more than I thought I would, and I'll be like, why do I have it, you know? So it's not like I am fully love my stammering, but at some point in my life I really I don't um remember when. And as I said, throughout my schooling and my childhood, my family and friends never made me feel ashamed or some like made me feel I need to hate my stammer. But at some point, I just got tired of constantly feeling ashamed. I'm like, how can you just live a life where you're constantly feeling ashamed of yourself? And I don't know when it happened. And of course, after I started doing stammering is when I became more aware of my stammering, in the sense that people started saying, "Oh, like the like other stammerers started contacting me, and a lot of the audience members and stuff." So again, I became more socially conscious of my stutter, in the sense that I was interacting with others about my stutter. But to be honest, it is a process. It is a slow process, and you have to keep reminding yourself that there's nothing wrong with me, and I'm just like everybody else, and it's okay. And I think it is hard. Some days we feel bad about our status, some days we feel more confident about it. So I don't think it was one particular journey or an incident that happened. I do think stand up made me more okay with it, made me actually proud of myself, in the sense that, oh, everybody doesn't expect it. And then when they finally see some of the stutterers so bravely going on stage and speaking, other people actually feel quite inspired. Um, but I don't know, it's the same thing. At some point, I just got very exhausted of being all the time feeling sad and, oh no, there's something wrong with me, and I can never speak in public, and I have to keep my opinion to myself. When you're younger, like, you'd even be shy to raise your hand in class if you wanted to say the answer, if you wanted to ask the teacher a co- question. I wouldn't do that because I would feel ashamed. Then at some point I said, I don't want to feel ashamed anymore. I don't want to be that person who cannot even ask some small thing in a classroom, So I think I just at that point, it is a process, as I said, and every day I am accepting myself more and more. But at some point, I just said I can't live my whole, life is short, and we can't live our entire life just being sad and upset all the time that there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong with me. Okay, yeah. So next question.
Yeah, Pooja, hi. This is Naman here. So what I would like to ask you is that can you tell us the exact reason why you chose stand-up comedy as the profession? Was it because since you had stammering from your childhood days and you wanted to prove the world that you can actually be on stage and you can actually speak? Or was it only because you have felt the feeling that you have a good sense of humor in you and you have the natural ability to think of jokes?
So to be very honest, when you don't um, when you don't see yourself as having a problem, like if you don't see, or if you don't feel, oh, there's something wrong with me, then you won't feel the sense of proving the world right. I never, there are many other things that I feel, that, oh, I need to show him or show them. But with my starter, I never I felt like, oh, I need to show the world that even a stutterer can speak. Because as I said in the start, I had already kind of reached a place where I did not feel there was anything, so bad about me or something, that because I have a stutter. I think it was just because I thought I had a good sense of humor. And I think it's very important, as I said, that for me, when something bad happens or when I feel sad, I kind of channelize it into my comedy. I if I have a bad experience, I write a joke about it. It's very helpful for me in that sense. So it was the same with that stuttering. Um, when I make jokes about it, when I make it light of it, when I make jokes, like when I go on stage, I say, oh, like it's actually a good thing that I have a stutter, because now if I need to make a half an hour joke set, I actually only have to write jokes for 15 minutes. No. So, like I say jokes of that sort, and I kind of say jokes which both lift up the spirits of myself, but also lift up the spirits of the audience. Because otherwise, as I told you, sometimes the audience also gets so upset. The audience also like, oh no, like I can't laugh at this girl, she has a stutter. And then they just all stare at me. So a lot of comedians are like, why do you speak about your stutter? Because if I don't speak about it, then the audience doesn't react in the same way as a person of fluency. If a person with fluency is making the same jokes as me, but I'm stuttering, then they get a bit upset. Or I don't know I don't understand, because obviously, I'm not a person of fluency. So I don't know how it feels when you see someone having a stutter and then you feel very awkward about it. I don't know why others feel awkward about it, but I feel when I go up on stage and I make jokes about it, then they feel also less awkward about it. They also feel okay, normal. I don't have to feel bad for this person, no, because a lot of them, they feel bad for us. A lot of people, even if they don't make fun of us. Have you guys experienced this where you're talking to someone, you're trying to explain your point, but they're not really paying attention because they feel bad for you, or they just feel, you know, so it's this same thing. Like, imagine you're going on stage, you're meeting 200 or 100 people who don't know you, and they all are just making a sad face and feeling very bad, and then you feel kind of strange also. So, which is why I kind of first talk about my stutter, make some jokes about it. I say, ha ha ha, like when you have a stutter, you can't do this. So, I make jokes about it, but only for 2 to 3 minutes. And because I want them to understand they don't have to feel bad for me. They don't have to pity me. They don't have to look down on me. Like, I'm just a normal human being. I do normal things. I go to the store. I have a normal life as them. I'm not somebody they need to feel sad for. So, um, in a way, I have proved to the world that stutterers are also normal and just like everybody else. That wasn't my mission when I started, but it kind of became what happened afterwards. It's kind of what happened afterwards. People normalize me or whatever. She's normal. She's like us. Just because she has a stutter, she's not strange. She's not somebody else, or she's not an exception.
Hi Pooja, I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so as we know that your acts leave people in splits, but as a woman in in comedy, as a stutterer in in comedy, you showed us that embracing your stutter is the key. But how as a woman in 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 comedy can be like, so what are your challenges as a woman in comedy?
Oh, you know what? Having being a stuttering woman in comedy is not easy as well. First of all, as I said, because being a woman, and secondly, having a stutter, it's like two things, that two barriers, as you would say, two things. Still, there are situations in comedy where, for example, if you need someone to host like a show, if you need a more compeer or an MC type of person, they would be reluctant to hire a stutterer, because they're okay if you want to make jokes, they're okay if you want to go and do a stand-up show, but a lot of comedians do like hosting job or an MC job also. In those situations, they don't want a stutterer. So that's one of the challenges of having a stutterer. So there are many shows that, first they'll contact me and they'll be like, oh, we have this thing. And then when I send them my YouTube clip and they see that I have a stutter and I stutter so much, then they don't hire me. So I think that's one challenge of having a stutter. Or for women, I mean, I'm there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of sexism in the stand-up industry, but there is sexism in our day-to-day life as well. So I think it's the same. Like, people will make some comments like, "Oh, she's only getting a show because she has a stutter," or and she's a woman, or she's only like she's not even that great a comedian. It's only because she's a woman. Like all the same things that I think we face in our daily life. Some people will pass some not very nice comments. Some male comedians will try to act a bit shady with you. Like, so I think those are the challenges that we do face. But if I start about that, I won't stop. So I'll now just focus on the stutter, on the stuttering aspect. And I think having a stutter and being a woman are, they are um they are both barriers in a sense. So you really have to try. You have to be very good at your job to really surpass those things. And yeah, that's one thing I know is it's a bit like the world is a bit unfair that way. But if you have a stutter, you always have to kind of be better, or kind of, you might be as smart as somebody else, but you always have to keep proving to the world that I can also do this, and you have to kind of make your way. You have to make your place. Like, because they first they'll be a bit hesitant. But like the second or third time I did stand up, I did it in kind of a very famous comedian. I won't say his name, but as soon as I got on stage and I said I have a stutter, he actually left the room because he said, I thought I couldn't stay in the room because I thought you really, people would not laugh and they'd be mean, and I didn't want to see other people being mean. And it's the same thing I was saying of uh, people feeling really bad for you. So, and I was so upset. I said, why did he leave? And then after the show, he came and he said, wow, everyone was laughing so much, like, but I thought they'd just be mean to you. So I feel as a stutterer, we have to keep on repeatedly proving to everyone that I'm just as good as everyone else. And it can get a bit hard. It can get a bit hard because you're like, why do I have to keep proving myself all the time? But I guess, it's the situation we're in, and we can either be sad about it all the time, or we can do something about it.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Pooja, we thought that we will have some samples of stand-up comedy from yours, but I think it's too early for you, and it will be too much to ask for that at this particular time. So we will do one thing. We will play a video of your previous stand-up comedy on the screen so that everyone can see it. And we will have just one last question of the day, and then Ashma will just share a thank you note. Yeah. So
Do you stand up clip, or do you want me to WhatsApp it to you?
I do have. So I will do one thing. I will share my screen so that you can show me which video you want me to play. Yeah, I think
Yeah, you can just play this one.
this one is my personal favorite. So I will just play.
Yeah, you can play this.
If you haven't thought that already, and that. So my name is Pooja. If you haven't thought that already, and that. I'm actually a stuttering comedian. If I need to do jokes for 20 minutes, I just have to write them for kind. So I'm actually a South Indian, but a lot of people don't actually believe I have a stutter. But there is one advantage of being a stutterer. I could probably be a rapper, like But having a stutter, can be hard. Like especially when I was in school, like I always wanted to do activities and I wasn't allowed. So I always wanted to take part in the quiz team, but they wouldn't allow me because I did bad in rapid fire. And every time I try to play kabaddi, so I'm actually a South Indian, and I know, and the minute I say this, people are like, "पर मद्रास के लोग इतने गोरे नहीं होते हैं ना?" But when a lot of people tell me this, they're just like, "Oh, you're so fair for a South Indian," and then I'm like, "Yeah, we actually have a saying in the South that a fair South Indian is harder to find than a smart North Indian." Technology and me, we don't go along so well. So every time I'm on the phone and I'm like, okay, Google, and Google is like, speak now. But a lot of people think because I have a stutter, they can tell me their secrets. I'm like, guys, I have a stutter. I'm going to tell someone else your secret, and it's actually going to sound much more suspenseful. Although I meet so many men, I'm single, and I think it's because, have you guys heard of this thing called friend zone? Right? It's like, when a guy is really hitting on a girl, but then she just wants to be friends. But that happens to us too, except it's called bro zone. It's like you don't like you're talking to this really handsome guy and you're like shaking your hair and you're really like, hey, can you pass me that? And then he's like, sure, bro. Do you do that a lot? Because you're just like,
Yeah, that's bro zone.
you have been bro zoned a lot. You have bro zoned a lot. Wow, such a player. You don't look like one, but The hardest part about living in Delhi is my mom. Because if I don't reply to her WhatsApp messages, like every half an hour, she sends out a search party. Because it's not her fault. Like she probably thinks I'm being assaulted. Dengue or birds come to us dancing to a honey sing song in some bar.
I think we have got some another kind of comedy video. We'll stop it.
Sorry?
Yeah. So now we will take just last question of the day, and then I will hand it over to Ashma. Yeah,
Okay. So what is the question?
Yeah. So now we will have last question of the day, and then I will hand it over to Ashma.
Hi, Pooja. My name is Pramod. I just have one thing to check. You did talk about the self-acceptance and accepting the stammer the way it is. However, with all due respects to that and the other groundwork which has gone by, don't you think this self-acceptance is kind of contentious? I personally feel. Okay, there are situations where I just don't want to stammer there, or I just don't want to stammer and screw up the entire thing. I come from a background which involves me to talk to multiple people on a day-to-day basis, make the negotiations and get the work going. But there are times when on the floor when my clients or managers are in a heated kind of negotiation, I just don't want to jump in there and talk about acceptance and stammer with ease or whatever it is. Because you did reply to few people in the past now, 15 to 20 minutes back, that on some days you wake up and you just uh, question as to why me. So, don't you think this acceptance is a little over written and it is actually contentious?
No, I didn't say why me. I said I wake up on some days and my stutter is worse than others. But I get what your point is. And yeah, I mean, I think I said a while back as well that there are some days or some situations where I say, like, where I just don't want to stutter. Like a lot of times, like I've just joined my PhD program, and so what happens is a lot of times we have to introduce ourselves in class and to everybody. And at some point when I'm in introducing myself and I stutter, and then I'm like, oh no, now why? Like I really didn't want to, because like you just have certain situations where you just don't want to have to stutter, or when you make a presentation, or when you have a very important meeting. And but that's the thing. Sure, you can. Um, it's all right to not want to stutter. It's all right if you want to go to a speech therapy and you don't want to stutter. But for me, the speech therapy hasn't made my stutter go away fully. And I'm not going to keep going for speech therapy till my stutter gets over. Like I'm 29 years old. I think I'm old enough. When this is it. Like I am me. And yeah, sure, I can feel bad, but you have two alternatives, right? Like what did you say? You said, don't you think self acceptance is a bit overstated or something of that sort? Well, you have two options, right? Like at this point where I know my stutter will never go away 100%, um, where I know there will always be situations where I will stutter, um, I can either feel really bad all the time and say, oh, I don't want this, I don't want to stutter, I don't want to have this feeling, or I could just be tell like I've worked I used to work a lot with the government, with Niti Aayog. So I'm meeting big government officials and I want them to take me seriously. Like I want them to treat me like someone who's serious. And then you can imagine already government officials are so like they can often be kind of him impatient, or they don't have like they don't have much time and they have things they need to do. So when you go with a stutter, they're just like, I don't have time, like you just need to go on with what you're trying to say. They're not going to be like, okay, like, take your time, say what you want. And I really wish at those points I didn't stutter, because I wish I was really doing my job better. But then, as I said, I can either be like feeling sad about it, or say, oh my God, like, oh, I'm such a loser because I couldn't even do this. But I don't want to live. I mean, I don't think any one of us should be living our lives constantly feeling bad about ourselves, or, like, oh, I'm this really loser person because I can't even go to a business meeting and say this one word without stuttering. Oh, I can't go to and in front of my manager and speak about these kind of things. And um, I don't know. I feel like, and this might be my hope or my dream, but I feel we reach a world one day where people don't treat us differently for having a stutter. Like you said, that in front of your managers and stuff, you don't want to stutter, but it would be great if and this is what I personally feel, and I don't know if it's true, um, is that the more people with stuttering stutter, the more we go into jobs where, like, if we start doing like jobs with others do, if we start being seen in spaces that others are, if we just if we're not ashamed of ourselves, but we say we have all the right to be here, then they have no choice, but they have to accept us. Like, you can't, if I go do a job at an office and I'm stuttering and everyone around me gets used to it and they accept me. But if I don't do that, if I just say, oh, like, my manager will hear me stutter, so I'm feeling bad about it, then I'm mm, I would rather I go out there, my manager hears me stutter, and then he sees I still do a good job, and then I go to the next job. I mean, I do my next client meeting, and it goes really well. And like, you just keep doing well in your job, and your manager will be like, okay, like, he has a stutter, but he's really good at his job. So at least that's how my perception is of a stutter. The more we go out there, the more we take opportunities, the more we take jobs in which we actually have to speak more, the more we show to others. I think it's how somebody said a point about proving ourselves. Well, I don't believe I need to prove myself. But I say, if more fluent people get exposed to confident stutterers, if they see stutterers can also be confident, because there's still a misconception that the reason we stutter is because we're nervous all the time, that we don't have confidence, that we're always nervous, that we're those kind of people that are always doubting ourselves, and we're always, but that's not even true. You could have the most confident person, like, I think Samuel L. Jackson, if you know him, he is an actor. I think he has a stutter, and there's so many, like, really confident people, because confidence and stuttering, they don't go hand in hand. It's not that if are you have so if we can show the world that stutterers can also be confident people, I mean, this is how I feel. And it's like I told you, like, I don't do stand up all the time. Like, I've taken a break because I'm doing my PhD now in, like, one of the best schools in the world. And I don't know, I just feel like if if you just portray yourself as a confident person, then your stuttering, it will stop mattering the more you expose yourself to people of fluency. It won't matter to them anymore. It won't matter to you anymore, and you'll just be seen as anybody else. Nobody will be like, oh, Pooja, that stuttering girl. They will see the other parts of me. But if I constantly make it about my stutter to myself, if I constantly make it about that, I think there's a problem. But I think, yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pooja, for sharing your experience and answering our questions. And if you are in Kurula next time for the stand-up comedy, please let us know. We would love to join you.
Yeah.
And yeah, and over to Ashma.
So, thank you so much, Pooja Vijay, for sharing your thoughts and viewpoints and how you view stammering with all of us.
Yeah,
It was
I hope it was useful for them and they enjoyed it. Yeah, so thank you for having me on. Okay.
Okay, Pooja. Bye. Okay, Pooja. Bye. Have a good day. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Have a good day.